This is a Zach Feldman Show replay on ZRadioLive.com.
The Website Music Station, Z Radio Live. You're tuned in to the Zach Feldman Show. Give me a call, 516-537-8570, or text us at that number as well. And on the phone is a brand new guest. He is a singer-songwriter. He's a brand new album out called Vicious Hue. His name's Robert Palco. Robert, how you doing? Thanks for joining me here on my show. Pleasure to have you.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm doing fine. How about you?
Not too bad. I'm very excited to have you on and hear your brand new song off your latest album. It's called Vicious Hue, and we're going to hear the title track on that album in just a little bit. But tell me a little bit about the album. What is it about? What inspired you to write this one?
So for me to talk about the album, I kind of have to touch on my previous album, the debut album that came out in 2018 called Elephant's Garden, because this album is the sequel to that. Very shortly, Elephant's Garden is about, it's like a paradise type of place, kind of like heaven, but you don't get there by dying, but by finding your true love. It's kind of like the pink mist that you first fall in love, you see this pink mist, you're kind of dumb for that person that you fell in love with, and that's what Elephant's Garden is kind of about. And there's a whole story in the album when you enter it, and then you find a flower, snapdragon, which is the symbol for the person that you fell in love with. The snapdragon will bring you love if you let it happen. And then there is a closing track called Exiled from the Garden. And up until the new album, I let it up to the audience's imagination, whether it's you, the listener, that got exiled from the garden, or your love, the snapdragon. Because there is Elephant's Garden has this ideology where, you have to practice true love, you have to be pure-hearted, you mustn't cheat, and if you don't do those things, you get exiled from the garden. And now we come to Vicious Hue, my latest album, where we learn that it was in fact the snapdragon that got exiled from the garden, your true love. So now you're stuck in the garden alone. Vicious Hue has its own story throughout. I'm not going to go through every single thing. Just go listen to it because it's out now.
And we're going to hear it in just a little bit on Z Radio Live for sure. Wow, that's pretty cool. Honestly, I think it's really cool that you're kind of taking a story and making that into an album, because usually artists they take their only ideas and they they kind of make songs out of that. You're kind of instead looking at it as one giant, I guess, in a play in a sense, right?
Exactly. Yes.
What inspired you to kind of go into that route of making music? That's very unconventional for an artist.
This actually touches on the topic of why I got into music. So, I was introduced to music at a young age. I couldn't tell you exactly when, but what I know is that we had a piano at home because my grandpa used to play religious songs for the church, and he was a pretty highly acclaimed person in the religious community in our city. And I think he is the person that me and my brother got the talents from to make music. I think he is also the reason why I got this idea of touching on the topics of religion a little bit, in the symbolism, the lyrics, the visual content, because now it turned into kind of a big story about Elephant's Garden being paradise and like featuring the absolutely obvious clouds in the visual content, the symbolism in the lyrics. It's like heaven type of stuff. And then the story of Vicious Hue takes place in hell because the one you loved left the garden. You're stuck in the garden alone. The whole place turned into hell. And there are a lot of mentions in the lyrics about devil going into hell, because that's where I felt I was in life. when I wrote these things. Like back when I released my debut album, I had the pink mist over me, and I was thinking that, I'm in paradise, it's cool. But then, I got fucked over. So, now, I'm in hell. It's a world of hurt. And that's what the album is also about. It's being hurt, being ripped out of paradise, getting your heart broken into a million pieces, and trying to cope.
Yeah, so I guess there was some type of, love lust there, and with obviously somebody who you're in love with, and kind of had kind of an impact on the album too. When you were going into this, you were in that mindset about love and lust and all that stuff like that. But was there any type of theater kid in you that kind of wanted to break out with this kind of album? Because I'm kind of feeling like this is. This is something that you can probably make for like a Broadway show or something like that, in that sense.
Wow, I never thought about it that way, but maybe one day. I was, actually, now that you mention it, I used to be a theater kid.
Oh, there you go. See,
I never thought.
Listen, I can smell out a theater kid whenever I see one. Okay, trust me.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. So now we're gonna hear your song, Vicious Hue. So tell me about the song.
So Vicious Hue is a part of the album. It's the climax of the whole thing. And you need to keep in mind when you're making an album or a project the size of this that it takes a long time. So I produced the album for 2 years. And in that time, you learn a lot of things. The whole album is about being hurt and trying to cope with it. But in those 2 years, I learned so much. And the song is kind of about this. I wrote this song when I realized that I'm making things way hard for myself by looking at the world with a negative mindset. But then I realized that there are greater sins than to be drunk on a weekday or to be a villain in a love triangle foul play. There are so many worse things that can happen in life, and not everyone out there is out to hurt you. If anybody is hurting right now, just know that things are going to be better. And I know. I heard it millions of times when I felt like shit. But, things do change, and things are going to be better. Vicious Hue is about this. Just don't give a fuck sometimes, The lyrics talk about the things I mentioned. It's either the listener or me that is a painter that paints the world in a bad color, a vicious hue maybe. And it's just the color palette that we need to switch up to use a little bit more of a positive colors to look at the world with a positive mindset. I know it's hard to be positive after being hurt so many times, but it's really not the end of the world. If anything, the song urges the listener to be the person behind the trigger next time, if that's possible. Because, that's how the world is, you get hurt. I mean, it sucks, okay, but, maybe it's your turn to hurt someone else now. I'm not saying that you should be a dick. I've been writing a whole story through 2 albums already, okay? Don't be the villain of it, okay? I'm just saying that it's okay to be a little bit selfish sometimes in love.
Yeah, but don't be a dick,
Absolutely, never be a dick.
Never be a dick.
It's healthy to kind of get back the amount that someone took away from you. It's okay to break hearts sometimes, because when the world comes to an end, there's nothing we should regret, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of a departure from this story, but the lyrics also go through the 7 deadly sins. The lust, greed, gluttony, sloth, wrath, envy, and pride. And it's really fitting because on the album, every song can have one of these sins put next to them. And, as the title track of the album, it kind of should have everything, a little bit of everything from the album.
Awesome.
And the funny thing is that there's actually only 6 things mentioned in the lyrics because I was too lazy to write a line about sloth. So I just doubled the line.
What's next in the future? What's next for Robert? What's next?
Well, the first album, Paradise, second album, Hell. So one can only guess what the next one will be, because it can only be Purgatory.
Oh, deep. I liked it.
Yep.
Leave it open-ended for the audience. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Robert, for joining me here on the Zach Feldman Show. Best of luck with the music career. But now we're going to hear a cut off your new album. It's Vicious Hue, here on the website music station, Z Radio Live. Robert, thanks again for joining me here.
It's been a pleasure, man.
Want to hear more? Listen to the Zach Feldman Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ZRadioLive.com.